first drive in New England as a tight ends coach, like what goes through your head when you see David not be able to grab that one, and then you see Austin kind of make up for it?
Yeah, it's always good. I mean, the ultimate goal there was to finish in the end zone, right? So we accomplished that goal. I think anytime a guy, misses a play or makes a bad play, you always hope he bounces back fast and makes the next one. So that, coming to the sideline, that's always the focus after something like that.
With the passing game struggling, seems like you have some dynamic guys in the tight end room. Would you like to see them be the explosive? Well, you know what I mean. What
Yeah, no, there's no doubt.
No, do you have to lobby for them to have? I mean,
No, you certainly don't have to do that. I think it's on all of us, right? As coaches, as players, the entire group, as an offense, we know that needs to improve, and whoever makes those plays, I'm gonna be happy as long as they're wearing the right color jersey. So I think that's really been our focus this week, and certainly moving forward.
do you have to maybe change up some calls or something to get some catch and runs for those guys, or?
I mean, a lot of it can be based on what the defense is taking away or giving us, and based on what we feel like is the best matchup for us. So I think that's such a week-to-week deal at times that it's hard to say, hey, this is the week that we're going to do X, Y, and Z, depending on what we feel like we're getting and what we really want to emphasize. But certainly whether it's the tight ends with a catch and run or wideouts or running backs, whatever it is, would love to see that come to fruition here moving forward.
Drew, on Sunday, the fewest receiving yards, Browns wide receivers in like 5 years. Do you think that's more of a product of a lot of 3 tight end sets, 2 tight end sets, or is that too low, for the balance of the offense to those wide receivers not to touch the ball?
I mean, it's probably a combination of all of it, right? So there's less wideouts on the field at times based on how we run the offense, and certainly that's going to be a factor. And then overall, we didn't throw the ball. It wasn't our best game. So you put those two things together, and that's where you kind of end the game like that, and it needs to be better moving forward. So.
Does it make it easier for you guys, your group, when wide receivers are making plays? You feel like your tight ends have more space when that's happening?
Yeah, I think anytime you're having success on offense, it opens doors up for everybody, right? When the running game's working, you're throwing it better. When you're throwing it better, you're running it better. So I think that would certainly, hey, we're making more plays outside. Those plays start to open up inside and vice versa. So that, I think it's a group effort in a lot of ways in terms of how that production starts to come.
And I assume just Nick Chubb's presence, even forget the production that he would put up in the game, that's going to create more opportunities as well.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, he's a great player, so hoping to have him back this week, and certainly brings a dynamic to the offense that makes us hard to defend.
We've seen some of these linemen lay out pancake blocks this season, but we've also seen some of your tight ends do the same thing, and they get working with Bill Callahan during practice sessions. What has that looked like for you, developing their blocking techniques on your end and with the offensive linemen, and how has that helped fit in the scheme?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important, and not just the pancakes, but just eliminating your guy from the play. That's kind of the focus, and what we kind of stress during the week is at the end of the day, when we're going to be successful in the run game, the guy you're responsible for can't make the tackle. If he ends up on the ground, great. If he ends up on the sideline, awesome. But it can't be him making the tackle, and I think you see that working in individual drills. You see it collectively working with the O-line, and then it's a key component of team drills, of making sure that it's assignment, it's proper footwork, it's getting your hand placement in the right place, and then ultimately it comes down to effort of finishing your block and putting that guy on his back to make sure that ball continues to move forward. So it's a big part of this offense for sure.
How's the energy or mindset been this week, coming off that bad loss and being at 5-5, and kind of an important part of the season?
Yeah, I think that the unique part about the NFL, and you say it when you win, you say it when you lose, is it's a week-to-week league. And that's got to be your mindset. If you think about what's happened or what's going to happen, you're not focused on what you're doing today. And so I think these guys have done a great job of dialing in on the task at hand and making sure that we're focused on the current opponent and that we're really learning the game plan, studying what we need to do, and go out and execute. And I think if you start to stray from that, that's when you start to, that's when things can get away from you pretty quickly.
I know Kevin has talked about inconsistency and trying to get rid of some of that.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you go about that during the practice week, is making sure there aren't the ebbs and flows?
Yeah, I think it's a big point of emphasis, and it's it's the same thing in a game. You have a long drive on defense or a short drive on defense or halftime. You got to find a way to recharge and regroup so when you hit the field you go, and that happens in practice. Whether you go from special teams back in halfway through, or you jump out of individual or back into a certain type of drill, of just kind of re-emphasizing that, hey, it's time to go. We need the energy. We got to roll, because it happens in a game, and you can't let it happen in a game, because when you start to see those inconsistencies, you can start to struggle.
I know obviously you don't want to be 5-5, but as you kind of look at how an NFL season goes, is ultimately the goal to kind of be playing your best as we get to kind of this part of the year post Thanksgiving, kind of into that playoff chase?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the goal is to play your best 100% of the time, all the time. I mean, that goes without saying. But certainly, if you were going to choose one over the other, you got to be playing great at the end of the year, right? Ultimately, the teams that finish, or the one team that finishes where they want to, plays great in December, January, and February. And if we want to get to where we want to be, that's going to be critical to our success. So, yeah, I think that definitely comes into play.
know David yesterday, I think, talked about that, not a touchdown catch, and said it was a sort of lazy play, I think was the word he used. I guess just how much of a teaching moment is that in the game when he doesn't finish? He obviously gets bailed out.
Yeah.
Score anyway, but how much is that like a teaching point?
I think the nice thing is that he recognized it immediately. Before he even came back to the bench. So I didn't have to make the point, but it's a point you make to young guys coming in the league, other guys on the team, say, hey, you can't take these things for granted. Like, you feel like you're wide open, but there's 11 guys out there on defense that want to make sure you're not, and you don't know where they're coming from. So just completing the catch, making sure you finish the play, and never take those for granted, I think it's a great moment to teach from, and hopefully, obviously it doesn't happen again.